Hello, everybody. I am Lara Muzio, the host of the Food Freedom Summit. And today we're here with Judy Wolfe. And I am so excited for her to be here because she is working with food addiction. And one big part of being free around food and making your food choices in a authentic and free way, it's very connected to addiction, if that is a problem for you. So Judy, I'm so excited.
I'm so excited, Lara, to see you and
Yay.
to meet you. And it's very nice to be in this space with you. Thank you for asking.
Thank you for being here. And can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your story, and how come you are working with food addiction?
Yeah. Well, Lara, I started my journey 32 years ago. I call myself today a low bottom, high maintenance food addict and a person of more, because that describes me to the T. I don't remember ever being thin. I always remember having a weight problem. Probably, I mean, maybe there's a picture of me at 4 years old when I look normal, but otherwise, I certainly felt like I was not. I was overweight. I always got pointed to. And, it's a different generation now, because when I went to school, I was like one of 2 or 3 people in the school that had a weight problem, where today, of course, you look around, it makes me very sad. There are lots of kids out there suffering with the disease that I have, I believe, and there's going to be real big health ramifications to that. But going back to me, in 1990, okay, I mean, I tried all sorts of diets. Moderation did not work for me. I didn't know that then, but didn't work for me. I tried all sorts of diets. And then in 1990, I was on a liquid program, like 500 calories a day, liquid restrictive program. I had to go a couple of times a week and get weighed and have blood work done and had to go to therapy and whatever. And I remember as I was being weighed one day, the woman was a nurse. And I guess I had a little bit of a relationship with her. And she said to me, Judy, this isn't a moral issue. And I kind of looked at her and said, I didn't really know what she meant. And she said, this is not about being a good person or a bad person. This is about being a compulsive overeater. Have you ever thought of that? And I looked at her and I had never thought of that. And she recommended that I go to a 12-step program. Now, she maybe could have lost her job, but that was my introduction. And then as I was doing this program, mind you, I'm supposedly 500 calories. I took my kids, who were like 3.5 and 7-ish, under the pretense of the weather being bad, because it was winter. It was December here in central Massachusetts. And I went to a store to buy gloves and mittens for them and proceeded to buy bags and boxes for myself. And then stopped at Friendly's on the way home, which is an ice cream place, and bought a couple of half gallons of that. Now, mind you, I was supposed to be on 500 calories. And I realized that this was not working for me. So on Monday morning, I made a phone call to the hotline and I went to my first meeting Monday morning in 12 steps. And that changed my life. And, then again, I was a compulsive overeater, nothing to do with food addiction. That wasn't, this is many years ago. This is 1990. So it's 32 years ago or so. And and my life changed from that. I lost about over 100 pounds, kept it off for a couple of years. It's one thing about losing weight, but it's another thing about staying stopped. And one day with family and friends in my living room, I took a cheese curl out of a bag, one cheese curl. I knew what I was doing, but I thought I could do it. I thought I was okay. And that truly led to an 80-pound bite and 13 years of misery until I found another solution for me. And I never left my 12-step program then. I looked at all different types of 12-step programs about food. I never left. I tried, and I finally found my solution, which was that I had to personally give up all grains, starches, sugars, alcohol, and I had to weigh and measure without exception, which I don't tell my clients to do that, but I still do that today. If I came to your house, I would weigh and measure my food because I am such a person of more. And even with that program, I struggled for another year trying to get my act together to put all those things down. But I knew it was my solution. And one morning, I don't know why, April 29th, I was eating my brains out, mush, gush, munch, crunch. I mean, anything I could get a hold of. I was a grazer. And then the next day, I don't know why, I had my last day one, where there was a switch in between my ears. In my brain, I had a thought that changed my life, which was, am I going to be abstinent today? If I'm going to be abstinent, to how was I going to be abstinent today? For me, I have to abstain from those products. They're my drugs. I take one of those, I don't know where it's going to take me. I only have control over the first bite. That's premeditated. I knew I was taking that cheese curl. Today, if I were going to take a brownie or something, I know what I'm doing. But once I've learned, once I take that bite, I don't know where the bite is going to take me because I have an addictive brain. I believe that I have a disease and that I didn't cause it. Like I said, it's not a moral issue. It's not about being good or bad. That's who I am. Maybe it's familial. In fact, Paul Early, who is very well known in the field of food addiction and addiction, he was the president of the American Society of Addiction Medicine, says that it's 50% is genetic, comes from your family. But then, of course, there are things that can happen to people. Like, first of all, you have to ingest the substance. And many of us do ingest that. It's our first drug. People don't realize it. This is the first drug. I mean, you get it as a kid. Oh, you don't feel good, have a cookie. What was formula made of if you weren't breastfed? Breastfed is very sweet. Breast milk is very sweet. Anyway, the point is that some people then may have little t or big T, trauma, small t, big T, that could precipitate it. That could make it like all of a sudden show up in your life. A lot of young girls, as you see in puberty, hormonal changes with menopause can also precipitate it. Maybe you've worked all your life and you've exercised so that like you struggle with your weight, but you've always been okay. But then menopause comes around and your hormones change and you can't do it with exercise anymore. Like you have to go back and really look at the food. Or maybe you're a young woman or a young guy who's going off to college and all your life, your parents, told you basically what to eat, what you could have in the house. They restricted you. You go off to college and what happens? You start eating whatever you want to eat, So, that's where my journey really started. So I have 17 plus years. My journey started 32 years ago, but I today have 17 plus years clean from sugar, starches, grains, alcohol. And I've let go of a total of 130 pounds. So I'm in a normal, what I consider a normal size body today. I just turned 70. My numbers, my health numbers, everything is just perfect. And you know what? Self-care for me is healthcare, and that's why that's even all the more reason today that I do that. You got to ask yourself, why would you continue to do what I do? A lot of people think that I'm very rigid. Like, how can you weigh and measure? How can you go somewhere? Because I go everywhere, to a restaurant. I know someone in my program literally had dinner with President Obama because her son worked for him and she used her scale. I use my scale no matter what. So, and I can talk about no matter what a little later, but no matter what, I take care of myself. So the point is that I still do this today. I still weigh and measure. I still eat the things that I eat. It's been a process though, because I used to eat different stuff. And and make concoctions and whatever. And today I'm really into nothing has a label, pretty much. Maybe tomato paste once in a while. I have some tomato paste that has a label on it. But I eat, greens and salad and mostly green vegetables. And I eat protein, some from the sea, some from the earth, whatever. Okay. And I personally today don't even do fruit. If I was going to do fruit, I do a half cup of berries, because you know what? I've let go of the things that cause my cravings. I didn't realize I gave up sweeteners 5 years ago. I was okay using them until then, but today I don't use them at all, and I don't crave. I mean, that's the most important thing, is to be able to crush your cravings, and during this process, by the way, I've helped tons of people in my program, in my 12-step program. But I decided to go back to school and I was in the first class of 15 that graduated out of Iceland in the INFACT program, which is the food addiction counseling program. Now we're called food addiction professionals. They've changed that. And I'm certified in that. And I had asked Bitten Johnson, I don't know if you know her, but she's unbelievable, to be my mentor, because I needed a supervisor. And I said, I don't know if I'm ever going to use this. I don't know what I'm going to do. And she said, I am honored to be your mentor, to be your supervisor. And I believe that you will do something. And she believed in me before I believed in myself. And she's so thrilled with what we've created and what we're doing today. And then I took her she has a course called HMA, which is a holistic medicine for addiction course. I got certified through her for that, which was just a different angle of it all, more holistic an approach, where breathing is important and just different, And then also I'm sugar certified and licensed, meaning that Bitten has that assessment for really telling whether you're a addict or if you're a harmful user. And I am certified in doing that. So, that's how I've come to where I am today, which is amazing. And I wouldn't want it any other way. I mean, I come from a medical background. I had 2 professions before. I don't use that for this, other than, of course, my people skills. But really, I act as a coach today to help people put down sugar and food, because it depends who you are. We all have, our own things. And because I believe it's a psychoactive drug, and that addiction is one disease with many outlets. It lies in the reward center of the brain, and that it doesn't matter whether you're an alcoholic, a drug addict, a debtor, a gambler, using games. It's the same disease, but it has a different outlet. And mine was food. Mine was absolutely food. And I, I'm not going back there today. I'm just not going back there today, because, you have to have a why. Why would you want to do what I do? Well, first of all, I truly believe that if I wasn't doing what I'm doing today for myself, and also now, of course, in work, I'm able to help people, that I would be 1,000 pounds or dead, or I would be sitting in a wheelchair and somebody would be wiping my tush. I would be in custodial care. That's what I believe. And, my why today is, why do I do this? Well, I really wanted to see my kids get married. I have 3 lovely granddaughters now. I have a son and a daughter. I have 3 lovely granddaughters now. I have my own problems, because I think that I destroyed my body. My back, I think, is definitely, I have a back problem. I do exercises. I'm very consistent every single day to maintain my ability to move and stuff. And even then, sometimes it can be a problem. I have a knee problem. I think it's all related to being obese. I carried a lot of, I used to weigh 288 pounds. I carried a lot of weight on my body, but today I can get on the floor, play with my grandchildren. I can get off the floor. And I've shared this before, but it's my favorite story, is my daughter's little girl. I was watching her because they were in the middle of packing to move. And I walked to the playground with her. First of all, I didn't want to walk before, but I mean, I walked to the playground with her, and she was watching this little boy go up and down the slide. She was about a year and a half or so, up and down the slide, up and down the slide. And she would go up the stairs, look, but come back. And I finally said, Shayna, would you like to go down the slide if Grammy goes down the slide with you? And she went, yeah. I couldn't believe I asked her that, first of all. I hadn't been on a slide probably for, I don't know, 25, 30 years. I mean, a long time. And I got up, I climbed the stairs. She was already up there waiting for me. I climbed the stairs to the slide. And I mean, there was so little space that I had to, I said, Shana, we got to move out of the way so Grammy can sit down. And then I sat down and I put her on my lap, and the people with the little boy, I said, do you mind being at the bottom? Because I didn't know how she'd react. I didn't know how I'd react, but I didn't know how she'd react. And anyway, we went down the slide and she never turned back. She was able to do it after that all by herself. So I mean, those are the pleasures in life of being in a normal sized body and being healthy today, to be able to be around and enjoy life. I mean, I see the outdoors so differently than I saw it before, because I was so, I mean, my self-esteem was in the toilet. I was so self-conscious. I was tired of being called fatso or being jeered at. I used to hide under my bed with my dog, Sam, because I felt so alone and lonely, when I was a little girl. And, today I don't live that way. I'll go anywhere, I'll do anything. And I'm just grateful that I found a solution. And my solution is total abstinence from the foods that cause me to have cravings. So the light bulb in my brain goes off because, I get the dopamine hit in my reward center. And all of a sudden I want more. And I just want to add to everybody so that that I'm not lying about this, but when I finish my meal, I told you I weigh and measure everything. And that's my boundary. It's to make sure that I get enough and that I don't take too much. That's why I do that. But every time, every meal, every 3 meals, I eat 3 meals a day. At the end of my meal, I am so sad when I take my last bite. I always want more. But I've learned that if I wait 10, 20 minutes, I'm fine. I can go 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 hours. I've had to do that in emergency situations and I didn't die. I was fine. I wasn't even hungry. So, it's just, there really is a solution out there. No matter how bottom you think you are, no matter if you think you can't do this, if I can do this, anyone can do this. And there's hope for everybody. So that's kind of my little intro. I didn't get into what I'm doing now, but at least get you to the point where I went back to school when I graduated that first course when I was 65 years old. So.
That's awesome. Wow. What an amazing, inspiring story. And the message behind it, that it's not a moral problem. It's not about being good or bad. It's just so liberating in a way, because a lot of people are putting so much pressure upon themselves. And if they can't control themselves, then what you mentioned before, like self-esteem goes really down the toilet. And that is one of the things that I think it's super important to say to people. It's just, it's not your fault. If you might have, you might have a genetic predisposition to addiction, or you might have been brainwashed from like the food industry advertisement, or you might trust like all this packaged food with all the labels. I love the fact that you said that right now, like hardly anything that you eat, if not tomato paste, has a label. That's actually how we like how human beings have been eating since the beginning of times, and then just in modern years. we just invented all this packaged convenient food. They are convenient in the moment, but in the long run, they're not convenient for your health, nor for your psychology. So thank you so much for like sharing your amazing story. And if you want to tell us a little bit about what you do right now, and I know that you mentioned no matter what. So
Yes.
I would love to hear about that.
Yes, and that's very big in our community. My son Dave, who I think you're going to have on the summit, and my partner Anna. Actually, of course, I've known David forever, in utero, but Anna, Dave, and I have never met in person. But I met Anna in the course with Bitten, that HMA course I was talking about. And in fact, she used to drive me crazy because she put everything in the chat. And I'm a person that has to focus totally, and that's distracting to me. Anyway, because we were all trained in sugar, there were 5 of us in the United States who were trained in sugar. And I got a client for that, and I didn't know what to charge. And I didn't want to undercut anyone. Like, it's such an important tool that I felt like we should all be on par with one another. If you charge $1 less, it was ridiculous, So I actually contacted the 5 people, Dave, myself, Anna, and 2 others in the States, and we met. And out of that meeting, we came up with a price, okay, of what we thought it was proper, to not undercut everybody. And then we started talking about building a community. And we first started with in the United States, but then one day I said, what about global, like virtual, global? I mean, we got our first handle was SUGARx USA or something like that. And then changed it to SUGARxglobal.com. So, and 2 people dropped out, and it was left with Dave, Anna, and myself. And what we really wanted to do, like, I think a couple of things. The major thing was to take away people's shame and guilt. Again, it goes back to the moral issue thing. It's, and shame to me is internalized. Guilt actually can be a positive to shame because it's external. And if you're guilty about something, you can make it better. But if it's intrinsic, it's very hard to get rid of. Okay, you got to really do a lot of work. So anyway, and the other thing is that we were all from the 12-step program, and we all knew about the principles of the 12 steps and the values of the 12-step. But with the 12 steps, you can't crosstalk, meaning if you said something, Lara, I can't comment back to you. Okay, number 1. Number 2, some people, they talk in the 12 steps, they talk about higher power. And that's a real turnoff to a lot of people. They don't want to be involved with anything related to religion. To me, it's not religion. You have yours, I have mine. It's spirituality is really what it's all about. And it's based on the values and principles, but it's a turnoff to people. Also, you're not allowed to talk about outside issues in the halls of a 12-step program. And I think there's a lot that of outside issues that affect a food addict or a sugar addict. And also education. You can't really educate. In the 12-step programs of AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, many people have gone through detox where they go to an inpatient program for a few weeks, or they'll do outpatient programs, and they get a lot of education. So at least those people come out, and when they sponsor, they have a clue of what's really going on, okay? Because they've been taught. In the food world, that is not the case. There are very few, there are a couple of inpatient programs I know of, like one I just heard about the other day, because I'm always searching and listening to podcasts and other people and being educated myself to be a better coach, and a better human, a better addict, so to speak. Anyway, but most people in the food world do not get any kind of education about what I'm talking about today. And that we wanted a forum for that. So that's how we came about with, by the seat of our pants, literally, came up with, we didn't know what we were doing. We didn't know what we were doing, but we just had this vision of something that incorporated all of those things that the 12 steps didn't incorporate. And I think we've done it. I think we've done it. It's called sugarxglobal.com. And it's a platform kind of like Facebook. I don't even like to use that because it's our own space. We own it. It's very organized. There's no ads, whatever, but you can message somebody, and because we're global, if you're having a problem at 4 a.m. and you're on the East Coast, okay, and there's nobody up around you, there's somebody in England or somewhere else in the world that's up and about that can help you out. So if you write a message, someone's going to get it, and you're not going to be alone. And through that platform, we've actually developed a system called CARE. And CARE stands for, and I'll explain a little bit of each because I think it's important to understand. We care, but it's connection, action steps, recovery, protection, and education. And for me, I couldn't be where I am today without the connection, without the community of my 12-step group. And so for me, the key thing is connection. And we wanted it to be the action verb, not community, the noun. So that's why we talk about connection. And we connect, and then we have action steps. I'm not talking 12 steps. I'm talking, well, how are you going to go about putting down your drug? Help, I couldn't do it before. Why would I be able to do it now? Well, we're really into taking action steps because we believe information does not equal transformation. It's implementation of the information that equals traction, okay? And action equals traction. So it's very important to move. You can't think your way out of addiction. You have to act your way out of the addiction. You got to put down your drug. That's what I'm talking about right away. That's an action step, okay? And then, everybody talks and I can tell you when I went to become in that class for counseling, they talk about a model and I forget the name, but it's like pre-contemplation and contemplation, and then there's preparation, and then you get to action. And then the end point is relapse. And I was always like your eyes went up. It always bothered me. And everybody talks about relapse prevention. And actually, Dave and I took a course by Terence Gorski, who has since, he's deceased, but it's been given down to other people. He's well known for relapse prevention. We turned that into recovery protection. And we're trademarking that because we truly believe in the positive. Like from day one, we want you to hang on to your recovery. We don't want you to relapse. We want you to hang on for dear life. And we've set up a solution, a system. And then there's the E, which is education. Like we believe it all starts with at least having a clue to know that it's not your fault, that you have a disease, that your brain has been hijacked, that it's been wired differently, and that it's okay. You are okay. In fact, we believe, through our teachings from our mentor, Bitten, that we have magical brains because in the caveman days, in the primal era, you know what? We'd be the ones that say, oh, it's berry season, let's go out and get it. Or, oh, we're hungry, we got to go get an antelope or a saber-toothed tiger. And we'd be out there taking care of ourselves. We would be the ones to survive. We would absolutely be the ones to survive. And everybody else would be left behind. So I think we're very special people. And that's how we approach this, is we are very special people. But our brains have been hijacked. Because you know what? What happens is, with addiction, there's the ism. Food, in my opinion, and I think our opinion, is only, when you start out, food is 90 to 100% of the problem. I mean, that's why clients come to us. They want to lose weight. They want to get healthy. It's the food, the food, the food, the food. Everybody, and I have to tell you, when we do a 5-day Crush Your Cravings challenge, we don't talk about food till the 4th day, because it's not, believe it or not, it's not that important, even though it's important to everybody. Okay. Once you get the food down, the food becomes only 5 to 10% of the problem. And then I was left with Judy. I was left with this person who always, when I had a feeling, somebody looked at me the wrong way, you said something to me that was wrong. Guess what? My hand, I call it the hand to mouth disease. My hand looked for food, put it in my mouth so I could numb out, because I didn't want to feel any of those feelings. And I do believe when I feel anything, like if something goes wrong, and I'm not a perfect human being. I make mistakes. I feel it first in my gut. I goes, and I know that's my first feeling. And I have this hole in my gut that will never, ever be filled with food. I have to fill it with so many other things. I have to fill it with figuring out who Judy is. I have to fill it out with the spirituality, that's in my life, with the universe around me, with the light. I have to fill it with other things, because food is not my answer, but nobody realizes that until you get the food down. But then you have to start working on yourself. And that's what we do. We ask people to be vulnerable, but you do it at the level you're able to do it. You don't start out like, we're not telling you to go and tell the world what your problems are. Absolutely not. You've got to feel safe. You have to be in a safe environment, So besides the platform that we have, we run about 15 groups a week, and they're coach run, which is the difference from a 12-step program, because that's a lay leader, who maybe, like I said, might have gone through detox, but if not, they just practice the 12 steps, which is a wonderful thing. Like I said, I'm comfortable there, but some people aren't. And so our group, so let's say, Lara, you're in a group, and like we actually don't even believe in individual counseling or coaching particularly, because we find that addicts bring with them denial, and denial stands for don't even notice I'm lying. That's what it's about. So they come to you with their problem, but that's all they can see. They can't get past what might be there because they're in denial about it. But if you're in a group, let's say, Lara, you share something that's your deepest, darkest secret. And I'll say, would you like to talk about it? Like, we don't make people talk about anything they don't want to talk about. But if somebody brings it up, usually they want to talk about it. It's fair game, but I ask. And then you'll say, yeah, I want to, yeah, please help me, and I'll work with you. Meanwhile, Jane over there has exactly that is her deepest, darkest secret. She would never tell me about it, tell anyone about it. And yet she listens to what we talk about, and she grows and realizes that she's not alone. There's no shame in this. It's okay. So, I mean, that's the kind of, that's what we offer. I mean, we have a high intensity program we call a Recovery Accelerator 2.0 program, where it's a system, and it's 18 weeks deep dive. We have no more than 20 people in a group. And it's very interesting because we really don't talk about food much. We talk about what's ticking inside us, the vulnerability, getting people to become more vulnerable. We have one session which is called Victory for the Vulnerable, and we're very creative. I have to tell you that the three of us are very creative together. We hit off one another, we complement one another, and we actually use the characters of Wizard of Oz to talk about that whole session, because we believe that everybody has what they need right inside themselves, which those characters did. They just didn't know it. You have to figure it out. So that's what we are here to help people do. And so I am passionate about helping the next sugar or food addict, because you know what? I struggled for years, since I was probably, I think, 7 years old. I struggled with weight and with being self-conscious and not feeling like I was my own person. I mean, I wanted to do whatever you did. I didn't have an opinion, And even today, I work on myself. I'm not perfect. I'm not all healed. I grow every day. And through the community that we've created, we call them the Hollywood squares because of everything is virtual, right? That I see miracles abound around me every single day of people who are getting through really tough situations and not picking up their drug, not eating over it. I mean, we do 15-minute breakthrough calls with people. We don't charge anything. And it's all about you. Like, where are you now? What is the most important thing? We ask you to fill out a little form. That's it, because then we can tell whether we think you're an addict or not. And then we ask you, what's your major problem? And guess what? They come and talk to us, and we don't talk about selling anything. And then if they're interested, we say, well, make another phone call with us and we'll talk about it. I mean, I love what I do. I can't believe it took me, 69 years to figure it out, but it's okay. It's okay. And like I said, Bitten believed in me when I didn't believe in myself, and I'm doing my dreams work today. So I don't know, and the no matter what message, I don't even know if I talked about that. The no matter what message is no matter what. When I finally found the program that worked for me after those 13 years, no matter what was a big thing, no matter what, I wasn't going to pick up my food. I could sit on my hands. I mean, folks, withdrawal is not an easy thing. Some people, it's easier for others than other people. But withdrawal you can be irritable. It's what people call the keto flu. You can be irritable. You can have headache. You can be malaise. You can have diarrhea. You can have constipation. I mean, the list goes on and on, because it's no different than any other drug when you're withdrawing from it, And so no matter what, I harp on it so much, because it's like, if you pick up in the middle of your withdrawal, like we have a symptom tracker to help people, but if you pick up during that time, you go back to day one, meaning your dopamine hit happened, and your body now has to go back and say, oh, I really like that. So now I have to withdraw again, and so no matter what, it permeates my entire life. I sign everything. I'm sure you noticed that. NMW on my emails to you, because it's not only about the food. Like, no matter what, I'm not going to let anyone rock my boat today. I'm not going to lose my serenity. I'm not going to lose my patience. Yeah, I do sometimes. Don't get me wrong. I'm not perfect, but it's a no matter what that permeates me. Just like my kids, I sign my things no matter what, because they know I will love them no matter what they're doing. I may not like what they're doing, but I will love them no matter what. So that's where the no matter what message comes in. And in fact, our business card has that on the back, no matter what. NMW. We're going to make t-shirts of it someday.
I love it. Yes. Yeah. That's awesome. It feels like no matter what, it's unconditional love for yourself, and just total acceptance of the fact that no matter what, I'm here for me, and I'm not just lying to myself anymore. So that's
exactly the case. It becomes, it starts with the food. I have to tell you, it all starts for an addict, for a food addict. It all starts with the food, because you got to put it down. And let's say, Lara, you felt like you were having cravings, like all of a sudden out of the blue. I always tell people, let's go back and look at your food, because inadvertently, sometimes you can have a substance, a product that the label was okay, but you didn't check the label this time. And meanwhile, the manufacturer changed the label. Not uncommon these days, because they put sugar in everything with all sorts of different names, okay? It may have actually been something you ingested to start that craving. I have a friend that can't eat melon. The minute she had, she would have cantaloupe, 2 hours later, she was craving food. And before it would be 4-6 hours and it would be fine. She absolutely cannot have melon, because that's what it causes and sets up the compulsion, craving, and the obsession of wanting more, of wanting something else, and I'll tell you, to live without that, for me, to go between meals and not be hungry is a miracle. And that's the and I think you know this, but that's why everybody has to quote unquote snack. It's because they're not eating nutritious, dense food in their first meal. And the minute you have carbs, it sets you up the hangry, up and down, up and down, up and down. I mean, I can get into that. So you get it. So, I mean, it all goes back to the food. For me, for an addict, it all goes back. I always say to people, okay, what did you eat? And a lot of times it's something they ingested and didn't even realize it. I remember one day this is when I was using sweeteners. I took a diet something I thought was a diet something. And guess what? It wasn't. And I didn't know it until I had some. And I went, oh, I don't feel right. Like I got a kind of a buzz and dizzy. It was, I had inadvertently picked up the one laden with sugar and I didn't know it. So, I immediately called the person in my life, my mentor, to talk about it in my program. And then, because it wasn't, I didn't do it on purpose. It was a mistake. I needed to let it go, and then I just drank lots of water. I mean, there are things you can do to counteract, but really, if you're having cravings, you got to go back to what are you eating? What are you eating? So that's what no matter what means to me. I'm just not going to pick up my drug no matter what. Because remember, guys, it took me 13 years to figure that out after that cheese curl. And I don't want anyone to suffer that way. So I really work with people on that no matter what message. And, this is a tough disease. We have the surround sound of food everywhere. You can't get away from it. You go into a hardware store and they're selling stuff, I'll give you an example. When you go to the checkout counter, I used to like sugarless gum. I think I have a package from 5 years ago in my house downstairs in the basement, okay, in my food stores. But there are times when truly just seeing that going through the counter, I think, oh, I'd really like that sweet taste in my mouth, but I haven't had it. It's just no matter what, I'm not going to have it. I'm not going there. I'm not going there today. So if that answers your question about what I mean by no matter what.
Yeah. And it's, I think if there's anyone in the audience that is struggling with food addiction, I think that could be really a good place to start to really be loving and understanding about what really is going on, because it's so easy for us to just blame ourselves instead of looking at what is really happening. And like the education part that you mentioned earlier, there is so much that we don't know about food, about our physiology, about our psychology, about how the brain works, that we just take for granted the fact that it's our fault, that it's all on us. We don't have enough willpower. I don't know. It's not.
I know when you say willpower, we think of skill power. That's what we turn it into. It's not. You got to have a little bit of willpower to surrender. You know what I mean? To make that decision. It doesn't just come out of the blue, but you can't do this with willpower alone. It doesn't. It's not going to work. It is not going. We don't have enough to go around during the day for a sugar or food addict. No way do we have that.
Absolutely no way. And then like willpower is not designed to control our lives. It's just a course correction, in my opinion. And when people say, oh, but you just need to use your willpower to just drag yourself out like every day. It's not how it was designed. Like we evolved this way with willpower for emergency situations and for course correction. It's not what rules our lives. Habits and plans rule our lives.
And you mentioned course correction.
Yeah.
We do a whole thing on that in our accelerator program, because that's what this is all about, is you have to be able to change your course Be on guard for the unguarded moment. You never know what's going to happen, what's going to come your way, and like Bitten always likes to describe a ship in the ocean, and the ocean is the addiction, and that addiction is looking for any little crack to get in. It is there. We call the addiction our red dog. We call our prefrontal cortex the blue dog. And the problem is that the red dog has been with you for so long that it can take over, and you have to be on guard for the unguarded moment. Red is never, we said this is a chronic disease. Red is never going away. But so I acknowledge red every morning. Like my first thought when I wake up is, how will I remain abstinent today? That's my first thought when I wake up in the morning. It's paramount. That means, how am I going to put, red to sleep, let red stay there for a while, and there was something else. Oh, the other thing was that you mentioned that we're all different. This is how I put it, but I'm paraphrasing you, that we're all different chemical factories. None of us are the same. And that's one of the beauties about what we created, is we do not have a food plan. People come to us wanting a food plan. We will, I'm telling you, like they freak out, but we tell them, we give them guidelines to make their own food plan, because we're all different. And we do that. There's a few things. We have a pyramid of 3 levels. Okay. The first level is about the addictive foods, which we call the toxic triangle, the 3 toxic triangle, which is to give up all grains, all sugars, and all of the unhealthy fats. Okay, so that's like what the base is. Now, some people are vegetarians and they're going to have some grain. That's up to them. That is fine. And you'll see how that will fit in the pyramid. Okay. So that's the first level of what we recommend to help people to crush their cravings. The second level of our food pyramid is medical. All of us have different medical issues. Maybe someone has nothing. Maybe someone has inflammation, generalized inflammation, autoimmune diseases, all sorts of things. Cancer, whatever. Okay. So they have to have their food plan fit into what their medical issues are. And then the third level are beliefs. There are some people that aren't going to eat meat or poultry because they don't believe in that. That's why they might be a vegan or a vegetarian. Some people don't like liver. I keep kosher, so I'm not going to eat pork products and shellfish. It's okay. So we actually ask people to create their own food. We'll help you, but we ask people to create it based on that pyramid. And then we even extend it out more, because Dave has something called the trigger-free triangle, which he can talk more about. But basically, we're into triangles. That basically is guilt, debate, and romance. If you feel guilty about it, if you're thinking, I'm going to feel guilty if I ate this, or if you feel like, should I or shouldn't I, or if you feel like, oh, I can't wait till everybody's asleep and I'll go, hit the freezer, that's the rendezvous, you see? So if any of those are in play, then you shouldn't be eating it. If you're an addict, you shouldn't be eating it. So, that's kind of like how we base our food plan. But again, we don't give one out. We'll give you like a quick start, crush your cravings one to get you started. We don't leave people alone, like we're here for you, but it's amazing, it's amazing because, not many people have to weigh and measure like I do. Really, I'm in a minority, but it's what I have to do, because once you heal your biome, heal your gut, and get on some solid, nutritious, wonderful food, people usually, get satiated and know what that's like. I don't have that button. I will never have, I don't care what, I hear all these experts say, you can't eat too much protein. I could eat too much protein. I'm sorry, I could. I don't agree with them, but it's okay. but I know I'm in the minority. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. So.
Thank you. Yeah, that's very interesting, because a lot of people just come and they want you to give them a list of what they should eat or what they have to eat. And it's like, it's a little bit more complicated than that. And I absolutely love your pyramid system. That makes so much sense. And it's very easy to follow. So guys, have you taken notes? Because this is gold. And since we're, I would love to talk with you like for another hour, but we're at time. So I know that the free gift that SUGARx Global is offering the audience is a free Crush Your Cravings checklist. So it's going to be here in this page. So go click it and download it, because that is going to be really useful if you really don't know where to start. And
Yes.
if cravings and food addiction is really a big problem for you. And I know that you also have offered a gift for our VIPs. So for the VIPs, you're going to have a 5-day Crush Your Craving system. So that is going to, I assume, expand on the checklist and then help them really go to the next level. I would love to hear a little bit more about
I can explain a little bit about that. Is that it's a takeoff on our 5-day Crush Your Cravings challenge that we do. And we actually have one coming up July 18th, starting on Monday, July 18th. Look for it. Put in literally the number 5-day Crush Your Cravings challenge.com, I guess, anyway, and you can sign up for that because it's free. And you just have to show up to get the benefits from it. And we give out a lot of assets. So the VIP package actually has, I think each day will be up for 24 hours on the VIP. So when you click on that button, be prepared. It's an hour and a half, around an hour and a half. And you'll get the Q&A, I believe, too, that people asked. And then also the assets for that day. We have growth, we call them growth sheets. In the growth accelerator, we call them growth accelerator forms. I mean, they're incredible deep dive, look into yourself type of stuff to help you figure out your why, what's red dog, what's blue dog, that kind of stuff. And then the next day, like if you clicked at 3 p.m. in the afternoon, then the next day at 3 p.m. you would get the second day. If you go to the challenge itself that I was talking about and you sign up to the Facebook page, the recordings will be up for a certain amount of time, but you'll also be able to get assets that we develop for each of the 5-day Crush Your Cravings challenge. And it's available for you, and this is totally free. There are people we've had in our community who literally binge watch the 5 days because they heard about it, binge watch and have joined us. We're a yearly subscription community, joined us, and it's changed their lives. I mean, gotten off of diabetic medications within 6 days. 6 days, not even a week, 6 days. I mean, but you got to want to do the work, because guess what? I can't do it for you. Lara can't do it for you. We can just be guides and show you the way, but we're here for you every step of the way.
Yes. Thank you so much, Judy. So if you want to purchase the VIP upgrade, there's going to be a link, and you also get all the email reminders. And the Food Freedom Summit, of course, is a free event, but consider upgrading to the VIP if you've just fell in love with Judy and you want to know more and you think this is a good fit for you. So you could have the 5-day Crush Your Craving system already there for you to try and see if it works. But also, since 50% of the earnings of the VIP package is going to be donated to the Noakes Foundation. So the Noakes Foundation is a South African organization that is working to try and change the food mandates of South Africa, because the pandemic of diabetes and obesity is going to crash the healthcare system of South Africa, but not only South Africa, because if you guys have been looking at what's going on in the past 50 years around the globe. We're all going to get there. So please do a favor to yourself and your health. And if you want to have lifetime recordings of the entire summit, my previous summit, and all the gifts that you get with the VIP package, click the link and join the community. And Judy, thank you so much again. And if you want to get to know Judy more, there's going to be links to their social media and the website, so you can join the SUGARx Global, which is awesome. Thank you so much for your work. Thank you so much for being here. It has been lovely.
And thank you for having me. We're so excited. Thank you, Lara. It was a pleasure.